Any incident, no matter how tiny, gets blown up into World War III with Black people as the victims. We are never the victimizers. We're always the victims. And I just keep thinking, if my parents and grandparents came back and saw these people whining and complaining and talking about how terrible it is, they would just start beating people.
Tell us about your parents' generation. What was it like back then? Tell us about your parents' generation, their mindset, how they grew up, how you grew up, and how you were able to be successful. You were able to become a lawyer in a time period where we're kind of told that Black people couldn't.
Right. So my mother was born in Alabama and my father was born in Illinois. And they met when he went down to visit some family in Alabama. And they met right before World War II. Not a lot of money, not a lot of education, probably like a typical Black households of their time. But they had faith, particularly on my mother's side of the family. I mean, my mother's in Alabama, so it's Jim Crow South. But there was no sense of we're afraid to leave our house or we can't achieve. My mother was from Tuskegee. I think there was an influence of Booker T. Washington in her family of that we're going to do what we can to better our lives. So my parents met. My father goes off and serves in a segregated army unit. And after the end of the war, he comes back, they get married, and they move to Illinois, to the Chicago area. Bought a house. They both worked. They had expectations of their kids that we would stay out of trouble, that we would work hard, that we would do better in life than they did. Did they recognize that there were prejudiced people? That's the word they used. The word racist or racism, I didn't start hearing that until maybe 15, 20 years ago. The word we grew up with was prejudice. And we knew that there were white people who were prejudiced. Our neighborhood was split. There was a road that went between the white side and the Black side. The people on one side were Black, people on the other side were white. The houses all looked the same. We knew that those people on the white side of town, some of them might not like us. Like I said, we didn't care. They weren't going to stop us from getting an education and bettering ourselves. This victimhood narrative was just not part of the conversation. This idea that America was this evil place was not part of the conversation.
So my grandmother was from your parents' generation, and she was very influential in my life. I grew up in Alabama. My whole family is from Alabama. We used to go to family reunions back down in Selma. It can't get any more deep South in Jim Crow than that. And yet my grandmother never expressed any of the sentiments we hear from people today. She just didn't. She held to the Dr. King standard of, don't judge people by the color of their skin, and
Right.
she would we're all God's children and, things like that. Those are the principles I grew up learning. And so it's crazy to hear people born 20 years ago around here talking about how they're victims of systemic oppression and
I know.
we can't make it. And so I guess my question is, what happened to us? How did we go from that generation and that mindset to like the houses in your neighborhood weren't torn down? How do we go from that to ghettos?
Well, I think that's where Manning Johnson comes in because they start this narrative. Every little incident, like I said, where there's a negative outcome, you just hype it and you fan the flames. So you keep pushing the narrative that the white people are out to get you. You can't make it in this country. We're all victims. We have to burn it all down. That's what they've been doing since 19 whatever year he decided that they were up to no good. And now you have the whole media behind them with this narrative. Any incident, no matter how tiny, gets blown up into World War III with Black people as the victims. We are never the victimizers. We're always the victims. And then you have prominent Black people claiming that they're afraid to leave their house. Well, if you are a very wealthy Black person who's afraid to leave your house, what does that do for us? We don't have any money to defend ourselves with. So I just think there has been this campaign for the last almost 100 years. It's kind of like making disciples. So the communists decided we got to make some disciples and then we got to send them out. And they quietly infiltrate the schools, the churches, the barbershop, wherever, spreading this message, and you get enough people to believe it. And all of a sudden, you've got a whole generation of people who legitimately think this is the most awful place ever. And I just keep thinking, if my parents and grandparents came back and saw these people whining and complaining and talking about how terrible it is, they would just start beating people.
You know, I was gonna say that. Get a switch. Get the switch. Yes. Hey, if you enjoyed this content, come check out the Center for Biblical Unity. Download our free ebook, Is Christianity a White Man's Religion? Click on the link in the description below.